Namaskar, a warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is VC Pramod and with me is Renu Kataria bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. India's army chief terms China's new boundary law as untenable as India and China hold 14th round of commander-level talks at the LAC in Ladakh. India and the US hold Homeland Security Dialogue over advancing broad-based cooperation in security. World Bank says production-linked incentive scheme and structural reforms supports India's exceptional growth outlook in 2022. United Nations expresses outrage over the killing of children in an escalation of conflict in Myanmar. North Korea announces test firing of a hypersonic missile. Over 1 crore people to participate in global Surya Namaskar program on the occasion of Makar Sankranti on the 14th of January. In tennis, Novak Djokovic admits to errors in travel papers ahead of the Australian Open. Nigeria kicks off Africa Cup of Nations campaign with a win while title holders Algeria were held to a draw. And in cricket, South Africa were all out for 210 on the second day of the third test against India. As the number of COVID cases are rising fast in several parts of the country, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant and get fully vaccinated and help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, to get vaccinated. As the new Omicron variant of coronavirus is causing concern, please continue to follow the 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID information and guidance, contact the national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. India's Army Chief General Manoj Mukund Naravane has said that since January last year, there have been positive developments along the northern and western borders. Virtually briefing media in New Delhi on Wednesday, General Naravane said, on the northern borders, Indian Army has continued to maintain the highest level of operational preparedness, while at the same time engaging with Chinese People's Liberation Army through dialogue. On China's new border law, the Army Chief said, any law which is not binding on other countries, which is not legally tenable and is not keeping in with the agreements, cannot be binding on India. He asserted that India is much better prepared to meet any challenge that is thrown up. General Naravane said Army's response to Chinese attempts to unilaterally change status quo was very robust. He said Indian Army is hopeful of resolving issues at Patrolling Point 15, the hot springs. General Naravane added that the necessary safeguards are in place to take care of any contingencies. Speaking about the border infrastructure, the General said that their upgradation and development along the northern borders have been carried out in a holistic and comprehensive manner. On the Western Front, he said there is an increase in the concentration of terrorists in various launch pads and there have been repeated attempts of infiltration across the line of control. The Army Chief said this once again exposes the nefarious designs of India's western neighbor. Speaking about the India-Myanmar border, the Army Chief said there are plans to increase Assam Rifles battalions.
In eastern Ladakh, the 14th round of talks between India and China is underway. After a gap of 3 months, the fresh round of talks between area commanders of Indian Army and People's Liberation Army, PLA, began Wednesday morning at the border meeting point at Moldo on the Chinese side. Fire and Fury Corps new commander Lieutenant General Anindya Sengupta is leading the Indian delegation for the first time, while PLA is led by its old guard Major General Liu Lin. Despite constructive suggestions by India to resolve the dangerously proximity between the two armies at certain friction points along the line of actual control, during the last round of talks on 10th October, the Chinese side was not agreeable and could not provide any forward-looking proposals. Following the 13th round talks on 18th November last year, India-China Working Mechanism for Consultation and Coordination, WMCC, the diplomatic channel, decided to resolve the blockades in army-level talks. while completion of verifiable disengagement at certain friction points, including hot springs, as agreed in July 2020, sources said. Discussion on the contentious Depsang Plains and Demchok are also on the agenda during the talks. India is cautious about Chinese tactics with the infrastructure build-up, including the bridge on Pangong So and other military establishments and communications. However, has maintained bonhomie with exchange of courtesies on the eve of New Year. Elsewhere, the White House on Tuesday said that the United States is closely monitoring India-China border dispute and expressed concern over Beijing's attempt to intimidate its neighbors. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said that President Joe Biden's administration continues to support dialogue and peaceful resolution of border disputes between India and China. Last month, U.S. Defense Department had expressed concern over China's military buildup near line of actual control. A large number of Afghan women have launched anti-Taliban wall-writing campaign. According to sources, the women have called on all Afghans to come on the streets, take coal and paint and write freedom slogans against Taliban. Despite suppress of women by Taliban, protest by women in Afghanistan is increasing in different parts of the country. The Afghan women are demanding their basic rights such as work, education and individual freedom from Taliban. Sources added that Afghan women said in order to protect women from Taliban direct violence, they have launched wall-writing campaign.
Taliban has announced that the assisted wheat from foreign countries will be distributed to Taliban fighters and Taliban authorities instead of cash salary. Taliban has also said that they are likely to receive 55,000 tons of wheat from India. However, sources said that the wheat is meant for the poor Afghans that are starving, but the Taliban has now set their sights on the wheat assistance for their own fighters. Taliban are saying that there is no cash with them to pay salaries of their fighters. Elsewhere in Afghanistan, members of the minority Hazara community have alleged that the humanitarian aid is being unfairly distributed by Taliban and is not reaching the Hazara populated areas. Sources said that Taliban has distributed humanitarian aid to the tune of 2 to 3 times in east side of Kabul that are populated mainly by Pashtuns. But in the West Kabul, where it is Hazara populated area, still Taliban have not distributed humanitarian aid. Meanwhile, in India's northern Union Territory of Chandigarh, a free COVID vaccination drive for Afghan students based in the city was organized on Wednesday. The drive was organized with the help of the Union Territory Administration and civil society. Afghanistan's ambassador to India, Farid Mamunzai, took to Twitter and hailed the development. In his tweet, he said that he appreciated the support of all partners to provide free COVID vaccines to many of Afghanistan's students studying in the country.
The Biden administration has increased COVID-19 testing in schools in a bid to keep students safe and schools open. In a statement on Wednesday, the White House said that it will increase the number of COVID-19 tests available to schools by 10 million per month. The statement added that the additional tests will help schools safely remain open and implement screening testing and to test-to-stay programs. The COVID-19 pandemic in Bangladesh continued to deteriorate with a rise in sample positivity rate and the daily infections reported from the country. According to the latest bulletin released by the Directorate General of Health Services, DGHS, on Wednesday, the sample positivity rate rose to 11.68% from 8.97% as on Tuesday. The country also reported 2,916 new cases of coronavirus, which is the highest number in a single day since September 3rd last year. Our Dhaka correspondent reports that new restrictions will come into effect from Thursday in Bangladesh. The government has announced that public transport, including buses and waterways, will be allowed to carry passengers up to 50% of their capacity. The railways will implement this from Saturday, the 15th of January. The government has also stepped up monitoring at the airports, requiring incoming passengers to show vaccination certificates and undergo tests on arrival. All kinds of public gatherings have been banned in order to control further spread of the coronavirus and its new variant, Omicron.
The UK Health Security Agency, UKHSA, reminded travellers of the risk of avian flu when travelling to China for the Lunar New Year. The Lunar New Year begins on Tuesday, the 1st of February, and ends with the Lantern Festival on the 15th of February. In a statement, the UK government said that a record number of human cases with avian flu H5N6 have been reported from China with the onset in 2021, with over 20 cases occurring last year. Before 2021, the largest number of cases of avian flu in China was in 2016, when 9 human cases of infection were reported. It cautioned that travelers should be aware of the risk of avian flu when traveling to China during the annual festival. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, expressed grave concern over the escalating conflict and condemns the reported use of airstrikes and heavy weaponry in civilian areas in Myanmar. In a statement on Tuesday, UNICEF said that at least 4 children have been killed and multiple others have been maimed during an escalation of conflict over the past 1 week in Myanmar. In a statement, UNICEF Regional Director Deborah Comini said that UNICEF is also particularly outraged over attacks on children that have occurred across the country. The statement further noted that overall, the people of Myanmar are facing an unprecedented political, socio-economic, human rights and humanitarian crisis, with needs escalating dramatically since the military takeover and a severe COVID-19 third wave.
North Korea has claimed to have successfully tested a hypersonic missile in the second such launch by the nuclear-armed nation in less than a week. North Korea state media said on Wednesday that the test was overseen by leader Kim Jong-un. Hypersonic missiles travel at speeds of Mach 5, which is 5 times the speed of sound. The test came even as the UN Security Council met in New York to discuss Pyongyang's weapons programs following last week's test. The World Bank has projected India to be the fastest growing economy in the world in the year 2022-23. In its latest Global Economic Prospects report, the World Bank has estimated that India will see a growth rate of 8.7% in the financial year 2022-23. According to the report released on Tuesday, the global growth, however, will slow down over the next 2 years due to the pandemic. A report.
The latest Global Economic Prospects report estimated India's growth rate at 8.3% for the financial year ending March 2022. India's economic outlook stands in contrast to its immediate neighbors in the region, including Bangladesh, Nepal and Pakistan. The report has also upgraded India's growth projection for the year 2022-23 to 8.7%. It attributes the upgrade to an improving investment outlook with private investment. The report underlines that the production-linked incentive PLI scheme and increases in infrastructure investment have particularly benefited the manufacturing sector. The report added that the growth outlook will also be supported by ongoing structural reforms, a better-than-expected financial sector recovery, and measures to resolve financial sector challenges despite the ongoing risks. However, the report states that the global growth is expected to decelerate markedly to 4.1% in 2022, the face of fresh threats from COVID-19 variants and rising inflation, debt and income inequality. The World Bank underlined that while economic growth experienced a strong rebound in 2021, it is expected to decline markedly from 5.5% last year to 4.1% in 2022 and drop to 3.2% in 2023. Anita Anand for World News AIR.
The senior officers meeting of the IndoUS Homeland Security Dialogue was held on Wednesday in a virtual mode. During the meeting, both sides reviewed the ongoing cooperation and identified further steps that can be taken to explore opportunities and synergies in advancing cooperation in counter-terrorism, cybersecurity, securing critical infrastructure, maritime security and aviation security, among other issues. During the meeting, both sides agreed that the existing subgroups under the Homeland Security Dialogue on law enforcement engagement, securing global supply chains, investigative cooperation and capacity building would meet separately in the coming months. It will deliberate and explore how ongoing cooperation can be strengthened further. The meeting concluded with both sides expressing satisfaction with the ongoing partnership and agreeing to deepen bilateral engagement and collaboration in all areas of mutual concern. The two sides look forward to holding the ministerial level Homeland Security Dialogue later this year. Economic sanctions on Mali have been tightened as West African leaders rejected the proposed timetable for the presidential election in the country. In a statement, the UN Security Council stated that the sanctions imposed on Mali in December 2021 were upheld and new restrictions imposed. The decision was taken following an extraordinary meeting held by the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, over the weekend to assess the situation in the strife-torn country. The new sanctions are aimed at Mali for its military leaders' decision to delay next month's elections until 2026. In August 2020, Malian President Boubacar Ibrahim Keita was overthrown in a coup that included Colonel Assimi Goïta. Last June, Goïta was sworn in as president of a transitional government after carrying out his second coup in 9 months. According to reports, the junta initially had agreed to hold a new election in late February, but the military leadership now says that the presidential ballot will not take place until 2026 because of deepening insecurity across the country.
In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a special program, Nepal Diary, highlighting the prominent news stories of the day from Nepal.
The Scroll reports that China's building spree in Nepal is putting strain on the Himalayan ecosystem. The report states that many infrastructure projects that are part of the Belt and Road Initiative run through sensitive environments, including the national parks. Khabar Hub carried out an interview with former Nepal ambassador to India, Dr. Lokraj Baral. Dr. Baral said that India should try to reach out to maximum Nepali people. Lokraj Baral is currently a professor of political science and said that Nepali Congress cannot choose China at the cost of India or can play cards against both neighbors. He added that India's new priorities in Nepal should be marked with an understanding of the geopolitical context. Business Standard carried the headline, Nepal imposes partial lockdown in Kathmandu Valley after COVID cases surge. The report quoted the country's health ministry and said that Nepal on Tuesday imposed a partial lockdown across the Kathmandu Valley due to the recent surge in the coronavirus cases. The Kathmandu Post writes that COVID tests at the Nepal-India border points show that cases are surging. It added that the constant movement of people across the border has also led to an outbreak of the virus among the health workers deployed at the border points. The publication also carried the headline, Nepal receives 1,184,000 doses of Verocell vaccine bought through COVAX. The report stated that the vaccine is part of over 5.9 million COVID-19 vaccine doses the country has purchased using a loan from the Asian Development Bank. The Himalayan Times writes that following the increasing number of coronavirus cases in recent days, people visiting the Central Zoo at Jawala Khel have to mandatorily follow health safety protocols issued by the government. The Kathmandu Post also carried the headline noting that 65% drop in the international passenger traffic via Kathmandu. Republica writes that scientists are seeing signals that COVID-19's alarming Omicron wave may have peaked in Britain and is about to do the same in the US, at which point cases may start dropping off dramatically. The publication also reported that the Bagmati government forms COVID-19 Management Committee. The Himalayan Times reports that the Rubin Museum of Art in New York is set to return to Nepal 2 wooden art pieces that were lost and eventually found their way into the museum's collection. The Nepali Consulate General and the Rubin Museum of Art in New York announced on Tuesday that 2 art objects from Rubin's permanent collection will be returned to Nepal. In some sporting news, the Himalayan Times writes that Nepal APF Club and Nepal Police Club registered their second straight victories in the Prime Minister Cup T20 National Cricket Tournament on Wednesday. Anita Anand for World News.
The 12th of January is the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda and is observed as National Youth Day every year. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the occasion said that the world looks towards India with a hope and confidence because both its people and its thoughts are young. He said India's capability and its dreams are also young. Speaking after inaugurating the 25th National Youth Festival in Puducherry via video conferencing on Wednesday, Mr. Modi said the democratic dividend of India's youth is unparalleled, as along with demographic dividend, the youth of India also has democratic values. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
The world will witness for the first time the participation of more than 1 crore people in global Surya Namaskar program on the occasion of Makar Sankranti on the 14th of this month. The global Surya Namaskar demonstration program is being organized by the Ministry of Ayush under the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations. Minister for Ayush Sarbanand Sonowal said that the Surya Namaskar demonstration on Makar Sankranti is more relevant in the current resurgence of COVID-19. Talking to AIR News, Mr. Sonowal appealed to people to join hands in the celebration.
भारत सरकार की आयुष मंत्रालय की तरफ से अगली 14 जनवरी 2022 को यानी मकर संक्रांति के दिन वैश्विक स्तर पर 75 लाख लोगों की सहभागिता से सूर्य नमस्कार आयोजित कर रहा है। आप सभी से अनुरोध है कि अपने परिवार के साथ मिलकर घर पर ही रहकर इस कार्यक्रम का हिस्सा बने और देश को स्वस्थ रखने के हमारे संकल्प को बल दे। हमारी कोशिश है कि आप लोग अपने जीवन शक्ति और रोग प्रतिरोधक क्षमता को बढ़ाने के इस प्रयोग से जोड़े। सूर्य नमस्कार से
Leading yoga institutes, both from India and abroad, Indian Yoga Association, National Yoga Sports Federation, Yoga Certification Board, FIT India, and many government and non-government organizations are participating in this worldwide program. Participants and yoga enthusiasts can register themselves on respective portals and will have to upload videos of performing Surya Namaskar on the 14th of January. Registration links are available on respective websites and are widely distributed by the Ayush Ministry. And now we bring you a report from the business world.
BSE Sensex climbed 533 points to finish at 61,150. NSE Nifty also surged by 157 points to settle at 18,212. Asian stocks climbed after Fed Reserve Chair Jerome Powell sounded less hawkish than expected in his testimony before the Congress as he charts a path out of the pandemic policy settings. Hong Kong's Hang Seng surged 2.8%, Japan's Nikkei 225 climbed 1.9%, and South Korea's Kospi gained 1.5%. China's Shanghai Composite Index added 0.8%, while Singapore's Straits Times Index ended 0.3% up. European markets were up in intraday trade. Brent crude oil prices rose to trade above $84 per barrel. The crude prices gained amid supply disruptions and fading worries regarding the rapid global rise in Omicron infections. And the rupee weakened marginally by 1 paise. The domestic currency closed at 73 rupees and 92 paise against the US dollar. Arjun Chaudhary for World News, All India Radio.
World number 1 Novak Djokovic on Wednesday admitted errors in his travel papers and in not isolating after a claimed coronavirus infection. The 34-year-old Serbian in a statement said that mistakes can occur sometimes in the challenging times. The ace tennis player flew to Melbourne a week ago claiming a vaccine exemption because of a positive PCR test result on December 16th. Australian border authorities had rejected his exemption. However, Djokovic's legal team was successful in getting the decision overturned in court on Monday. As things stand, the 9-time Australian Open champion is set to begin his title defence as the tournament starts on Monday. Djokovic is also aiming at a record 21st Grand Slam title. In Africa's biggest sporting event, the Africa Cup of Nations, Nigeria got off to a winning start on Tuesday. Kelechi Iheanacho, who plays for Leicester City in the English Premier League, scored the only goal on 30 minutes as Nigeria overcame lackluster Egypt 1-0 in a Group D clash. In the Group E encounter, holders Algeria played out a goalless draw against Sierra Leone. Algeria are hot favourites to win the tournament, but the opening match will be seen as an upset for the team, which boasts names like Manchester City star Riyad Mahrez, among others.
In cricket, India were 57 for 2 in their second innings against South Africa at stumps on day 2 of the third and final test in Cape Town tonight. Earlier, India bowled out South Africa for 210 in the first innings with Keegan Peterson top scoring with 72 runs as Jasprit Bumrah took 5 wickets while Umesh Yadav and Mohammad Shami bagged 2 wickets. In the first innings, India scored 223 runs with the help of Kohli 79 and Pujara's 43 runs. Kagiso Rabada picked 4 wickets and Marco Jansen took 3 for the Proteas. The 3-match test series is evenly poised with both teams winning a test match each. Top Indian shuttlers Saina Nehwal, Lakshya Sen and HS Pranoy progressed to the second round of the India Open with contrasting wins in Delhi on Wednesday. Former world number 1 Saina moved to the second round after her opponent Czech Republic's Tereza Swabikova suffered a back injury and retired midway while lagging 20-22-0-1 in the opening round match. Saina, seeded 4th, will next play with Malvika Bansod, who defeated fellow Indian Samia Imad Faruqi in another women's singles match. In men's singles, 8th seed Pranoy, a former world top 10 player, defeated Spain's Pablo Avian and will next face Mithun Manjunath. 3rd seed Lakshya Sen, who claimed the World Championship bronze on debut last month, thrashed Egypt's Adham Hatem El Gamal 21-15, 21-7. He will now take Sweden's Felix Burestedt. Commonwealth Games bronze medalist Ashwini Ponnappa and N. Sikki Reddy, seeded 2nd, also entered the second round, beating compatriots Janani Anand Kumar and Divya R. Balasubramaniam. Among other Indians, Akarshi Kashyap and beat compatriot Anura Prabhudesai, while Rahul Yadav Chittaboinia got a walkover after Spain's Luis Enrique Penalva's withdrawal.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The New York Times reports Omicron deepens uncertainty surrounding Beijing Olympics. Washington Post notes that Britain's Boris Johnson apologizes amid national anger over lockdown party at his residence. The Wall Street Journal notes migrants rush to Europe as COVID-19 restrictions ease. Sputnik News quotes Stoltenberg, who says that NATO won't give up open door policy right to station troops in states ringing Russia. The Globe and Mail say support growing among European governments for COVID-19 vaccine mandates as Omicron cases surge. The Guardian observes that Switzerland halves quarantine to 5 days. Germany and Austria set new daily case records. Financial Times says Facebook loses second attempt to dismiss FTC antitrust case. South China Morning Post reports China meets Gulf oil bloc with sights set on free trade agreement and energy security. Tolo News says China steps up construction on disputed Bhutan border. And the Japan Times writes Japan's daily COVID-19 cases top 10,000 for first time in 4 months.
A quick look at the headlines once again. India's army chief terms China's new land boundary law as untenable as India and China hold 14th round of commander-level talks at the LAC in Ladakh. India and the US hold Homeland Security Dialogue over advancing broad-based cooperation in security. World Bank says production-linked incentive scheme and a structural reform supports India's exceptional growth outlook in 2022. United Nations expresses outrage over the killing of children in an escalation of conflict in Myanmar. North Korea announces test firing of a hypersonic missile. Over 1 crore people to participate in global Surya Namaskar program on the occasion of Makar Sankranti on the 14th of January. In tennis, Novak Djokovic admits to errors in travel papers ahead of the Australian Open. Nigeria kicks off Africa Cup of Nations campaign with a win, while title holders Algeria were held to a draw. And in cricket, South Africa were all out for 210 on the second day of the third test against India. And now to end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Australia.
वैष्णव जान तो कहने का ये जे धीर पराए जाने रे वैष्णव जान तो कहने का ये जे धीर पराए जाने रे और दुखके उपकार कर तो ये मन अभिमान वैष्णव जान तो कहने का ये जे धीर पराए
And with that, we end this edition. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.